Okay, everybody disappeared.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Step Up, Make a Difference, the podcast. I am Mike Peacock, and as always, I am here with my good friend and my pal, Dr. Marty Durden, and we are bringing you another episode of our weekly podcast. And Marty, it is Thanksgiving week 2025. How about that?
Unbelievable how time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely.
We're looking forward to being with the family, all those things. I love Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorite times of the year because everybody that I love is in the room with me.
That's right. That's right. It is going to be a lot of fun. And speaking of family, I just said goodbye to my oldest son and his wife who came in after the Auburn game yesterday and visited with us. And they just were heading back to Birmingham. They're home in Birmingham. And it's been nice having them here. And it's nice to be able to get another episode of the podcast going tonight. And we got a great guest tonight, Marty. It's impressive, the lineup that we continue to get on this show. And you've got another, and he happens to have the same last name as you. I'm not sure how that worked out, but anyway, tell us about our guest and introduce him, and then we'll bring Coach Durden into the show.
Well, Gene Durden is a legend among coaches in the Georgia High School Association. He's the winningest girls basketball coach in history. He has over 900 wins, and he has 8 state titles in 2 different schools. And he was a runner-up. I probably shouldn't bring that up. He was finalist. That's what he was. He was a finalist twice. So he's been to the big dance 8 times. And Coach Durden is one of these guys, when I needed to play back when I was coaching, hey, Coach, I need an inline play. I need a sideline play. He's the guy I would call. And just like that, he always had the answer. Sometimes it was on the back of a Pizza Hut, a napkin or something. But he has been a friend of mine since the day he started. And I'll just tell this one little interesting story. I was at Brookwood School when I was a young coach. And I knew this guy named Gordy Gruel who was a heck of a coach. And one of his guys is Gene Durden, who played for Gordy. And Gordy's sort of a legend himself in basketball. We'll talk about him another day, though. And so this Gene Durden comes in, and as I'm leaving the school, Gene comes in, and on the door was Coach Durden, or on my desk was Coach Durden. We didn't even have to change the. And of course, the only thing that changed was he was a much better coach than I ever was. So, Gene Durden, I am so happy you're here with us tonight, man. It's a blessing to have a guy like you in my life. And we may be cousins, we may not. I don't know. I don't even care, because we're joined by a deeper bond, right, than that. So, Gene, welcome, man. We're so glad to have you.
Listen, guys, what an honor to be here tonight. I'm just telling you, I am so tickled to death. Marty said it. Our relationship goes back so many years. It's unbelievable, because everybody thought that I was his little brother that was taking over for him at Brookwood. But it's so crazy how a lot of times we had another common friend, Ronnie Jones, in there that basically took me under his wing. And I was a young coach, thought I knew so much and didn't know anything. And man, Brookwood was a blessing, the relationships there and everything else. And Marty was one of those blessings. And I'm just glad that we've kept that relationship because, that's one of the greatest things about coaching is the relationships that you build. And those relationships are so strong. And like I said, that our relationship goes back over 35 years. And to be here tonight, guys, it is an absolute blessing. It's Thanksgiving. So you know what? I'm giving thanks for being on this show. And now one thing you mentioned a little bit earlier, Marty, you said to talk about a legend. I guess I qualify because of this. I'm old and I've had great players. So, that's what a lot of times legends are is you try to, stay in the business as long as you can. And I've been lucky enough to have a lot of great players that make me look like I knew what I was doing.
It's just great to see you, Gene. It's been a long time since I've actually seen your face. You don't age a whole lot. Most coaches, we look like we're rusty or something. I don't know, a faded picture. But you still look great, man.
Don't say that, brother. I feel like a broken down rascal every now and then. I tell you, especially coaching the last 5 years, boy, it's a whole different animal now than it was. And I tell you what, I'm trying to hang on like I can, but you know what? It's been so many blessings and everything else. And like I said, just getting to share on this podcast, man, I'm so excited just to open back up and talk about some memories and some other things.
Well, Coach, we are certainly glad to have you as a part of the Step Up, Make a Difference podcast for sure, because you've been doing this a long time and you've had a tremendous amount of success. And I'm sure but already we know that there's some stories out there. But the first thing we usually do when we have a guest on is we allow them to kind of tell their story. So why don't you tell us kind of a little bit about your upbringing, how you got into coaching, and basically a nutshell of how you got to where you are today.
Oh, that's a winding story right there. But grew up in a small little country town called Midville, Georgia, down around Waynesboro, Swainsboro. Grew up on a farm, country boy. Not a very good athlete. Went to a small school in Waynesboro called Edmund Academy, and tried a bunch of sports. But man, my mother was a really great basketball player in Midville. That Midville had a tradition of basketball players back when she was growing up and all. And she basically taught me the game. My dad, he was a farmer, had a sixth grade education, never the youngest of 13 kids. All he knew was farming and working. And so he knew nothing about sports. But my mom was my uncle basically influenced me, but fell in love with the sport of basketball. And I say this all the time that in 10th grade, I was the only guy that got cut off my high school team. Okay, now Gordy Gruel cut me. Marty was talking about Gordy earlier, and I spoke it when Gordy won his 1000th game. I spoke and I talked about this because this was really big in my life. That nowadays when kids get cut, first thing they do is they want to blame somebody, blame the coach, don't like me, somebody don't like this, don't like that. Well, me, I went to work. We had an assistant coach named Willis Jones, and Willis, I remember for a couple of years there that Willis, I would come in, and people don't believe this, but it's absolutely true. I would come to the gym 4 and 5 hours a day in the summertime, and I would get in there and just do workouts right by myself with Willis. And I had, a matter of fact, I had an agreement with my daddy because I grew up working on the farm. And so basically it was either go work on the farm or go work on basketball. And believe me, I'd rather been in the gym than out there pulling fence and baling hay and everything else. So, make a long story short, I got cut, came back. Next year, I made the varsity team, started. My passion for basketball just went on and on, just loved the game. Went on, had a good little high school career and like high schools are, and wanted to go to college. So next thing you know, I wasn't good enough to go to a lot of colleges. I got looked at by some, but one of our coaches there at school knew Gerald Cox at Brunswick College. Now it's Coastal Community down in Brunswick. And me and one of my high school buddies went down there and tried out. And the coach loved my work ethic, loved my habits, everything else. And so I ended up playing at Brunswick for 3 years. I broke my ankle, and man, what a learning experience that was. Play junior college back then, from a small country school. So basically, I went there and had a really good career at Brunswick. And man, we had some great teams. We finished up 9th in the nation one year, and just had some great teammates there. Learned a lot. And then one year I was hurt. I broke my ankle, and so I kind of got to be like a manager coach on that situation with Coach Cox. And so here's the one thing I learned pretty early is the closest thing to play in is coaching. So that fueled my fire. I had a couple more offers to go play at smaller schools later on. But I went to Georgia Southern. I had a paralyzed brother that went there. So I finished up at Southern and knew I wanted to coach. I mean, I just had that passion, that love for it, and finished up at Southern. So, opportunities come out of Southern. I could have went and been an assistant back a couple of bigger high schools. But of all things, Brookwood School came across my radar, and a small private school in Thomasville. And so I go down there to interview for the boys' job, and they hire me for the boys. And of all things, they needed a girls' coach too. So here I am, straight out of college, 23, 24 years old. First of all, I think I know everything about basketball. And the first thing I learned is I knew nothing about basketball. I go in there. I am an assistant football coach, head B team coach, both varsity coaches with both JVs with no assistants, coached the track team, also helped with the baseball team, drove the tennis team. And then, guys, here's the crazy thing. We was on a rotating schedule. I taught business ed because I had a business degree. So I did business classes and PE classes. So I had to change clothes about 4 to 5 times a day from gym shorts to tie. So when I hear these young coaches now talking about rough or whatever, I don't want to hear it. Okay. I don't want to hear it. I'd load 45 kids up on a bus by myself, no assistants, go coach JV girls, JV boys, varsity girls, and varsity boys all in one night. And believe me, by the time the referees got through with me, they didn't want to hear me. So it was, and Marty knows this. I was so blessed to have a mentor in my life. Ronnie Jones was the athletic director and head football coach. And me and Ronnie still talk and everything else. And boy, did he help me do everything. Because at that small private school, I did everything from wrap the ankles to drive the bus, to clean the floors, to run the concession stand. I mean, I did it all. And Ronnie was right there. I pretty much lived with him almost, him and his wife. So it was a great experience there. And man, I'm so thankful because a couple things happened. Number one, I learned so many things that I had to do as a coach to make it all happen. So I had to learn every aspect of it. Number two, God put me in a place where I had to grow, and I had to learn, and I had to do, and I had people I trusted that invested in me. And so, at a private school, you don't have very much talent, so you got to do what you got to do. So I learned that. And the other thing I learned was you would have never convinced me that I'd ever coach girls basketball. But man, I got in and coached those girls compared to the boys, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I stayed there for 3 years. And, please interrupt me. I know I'm giving you my story, but if there's any questions.
This is what we want to hear. This is great. Keep going.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say this the right way, but at that time, my goals and all were different than it is now, because when you're young and dumb, you have a lot of these goals that you think are important, but they're not. But really and truly at that time, what I was wanting to do was basically touch high school and hurry up, get to college. And I want to be a college coach and want to do all this stuff and everything else. But at Brookwood, I learned another lesson. I learned that I had so much impact on these kids' lives and how much impact I had on them and everything else. And I never realized that as a coach. So I was blessed to marry a lady that I basically met in junior college, because I always talk about it. He's talking at clinics and all, how special it is to make sure your spouse knows what it is to be married to a coach. Because I'm going to tell you what, if you know what they're getting into, that marriage ain't going to last. And I married a great one in my wife, Cherie. She was a college athlete. We met at Brunswick. She played basketball. And boy, has she been a blessing in my life, because as you find out later on, We had a bunch of kids and everything else, and she did a great job of raising our kids while I wasn't around. But going back to my journey, I knew I couldn't stay in private school for a long time. I couldn't get labeled as, if I want to go to college, a small private school coach. So I started looking around. And Ronnie Jones happened to meet a guy out of Northwest Georgia in Dade County. He met the principal up there. And they had a girls' job in Dade County, that time it was Northwest Georgia. They had never won at anything. I mean, they were not a school that was known for their winning. So here I go. I'm going to go interview at this town in Trenton, Georgia, up in the mountains of Georgia. If you go 15 minutes, you hit Alabama. You go 15 minutes, you hit Tennessee. Far west, northwest corners you can go. I go up there and meet a coach named Alan Long. He was the boys' coach, and he basically had run the girls' program. I walk in and interview with him, and he takes me over to this gym that they have open gym. And I was amazed because I walked up to the gym and after school, and there was probably 40, 45 kids waiting outside this gym. I'm like, what is going on? He opens the door. These are older guys, high school females, all mixed if you want. They all run in there. He basically picks 5 captains. They pick 5 teams. 2 teams go up under each goal, count and score. 1 team goes in the bleacher, and 2 teams run out on the floor. And you talking about kids getting after it playing basketball. I looked at him and said, I want to be here. This is where I want to be.
Wow.
Because I knew these cats were serious about basketball. So I go to Northwest Georgia. And boy, I always say this too, Marty and Mike. The Lord puts you where you need to be. And he put me in the right place at Brookwood for the right people to help me get started. Then he put me in Northwest Georgia in the right place because I went in there with the hungriest group of girls I've ever seen and one of the meanest groups of girls. I was pretty much scared of them, these mountain girls. And they had never won. And we go in there, and I learned a lot from this coach, Alan Long. And I go in there, and let me tell you what, you're talking about brimstone and fire coming into a place now. When I was young, I was crazy. And these girls just ate it up. And we won the region that year and went to like the Elite 8 in the first year, and I could have ran for mayor in that town. Because I'm the person in the world because they had never won anything. And next thing you know, we got them in state, and I had a great group of girls. And I stayed at that school and raised my family, and I loved that school. I still love that school. I'm supposed to go up there in January, a long story, but a guy that has took over the program again that I knew here for many, many years, he's invited me up for a reunion of my players, and I can't wait to see them. But I stayed there for 13 years, had probably over 25 to 30 girls play college basketball out of that little school, had a McDonald's All-American come out of that school. And I loved it. When me and Cherie had 4 children, I had one that was born in Thomasville, Devin. And then I had another son, Christian, 2 years younger, born in Trenton. And then a set of twins that was born about a year and a half later. So at one time, me and Cherie had 4 children, 3 and under. So when I talk about my wife being a saint, because I am sitting there doing all the stuff that I do, and she's raising them kids and working a job. And so, I always say that I would not be where I'm at today without my wife inputting into my family and everything else, because she gave me the opportunity to do what I did with those kids. So Trenton hit there 13 years. It was one of the best places I've ever been in my life. Nothing but great memories, nothing but great relationships, and a lot of winning. We played for 3 state championships there and lost 2 of them on last-second shots. And I'd do anything to go back now because I'm a lot better coach with those kids. I'd be a lot better coach. We'd have a lot better chance of winning now. But those kids gave me everything they had. And if I'd had 4 girls, Mike and Marty, I'd have stayed there. But I kept telling them that my oldest son, Devin, hit 9th grade. I wanted the best opportunity for my kids. And Dade at that part, it changed to Dade County High School. Their boys program was just not where it needed to be. And I'm gonna tell you something. I moved to Buford not from Gene Durden, but for my kids, because Buford, I looked all around. I'd established myself as a coach. I looked all around the state of Georgia and really around the southeast to put my kids in what I thought was the best situation I could put them in, because that's what I wanted for them, to have opportunity. Not me. I'd done most of the stuff I really want to do in coaching, but for them. And of all places, it like the Lord opened up another door with a friend here at Buford called Milt Travis. And the girls' coach was going to special ed, director over at the central office. They needed a girls' coach and had a business ed teacher to retire. So Lord definitely opened that door. And when me and my wife, my crew packed up from Dade and we came to Buford, and I've been here 22 years. And let me tell you what, it has been another great situation the Lord's put me in. We won 8 state championships here. We have basically played for 2 more. We have had unbelievable kids here. We've got great facilities. We've got great everything. And the Lord has just blessed me so much in my career. So I'm here. I'm now semi-retired. I am not retired. I basically now I give my retirement, but I'm on 49%. Buford's treated me really well. I'm assistant AD here and coach girls basketball. Don't teach anymore. And as long as they're going to keep me here, I'm going to stay here.
That is great. That's great news, man. And you have another guy. Just talk about relationships. I believe your team chaplain, if I'm not wrong, Stephen Fountain. Is that right?
Stephen has been a blessing in my life, Marty Durden, and he helps with our team. I go to church there with him, and I can tell you this, which I'll tell y'all at the end. I really would like to share a little story with you on that. But Stephen has seen me at my highs. He's helped marry my children. He's seen me at my lowest of my lows when I had to bury my son. And so, like I said, he has been with me through thick and thin, and love him to absolute death.
And I taught Stephen in high school and his brother Tommy, and still stay in touch with both of them. They're good people, and their father too. You've probably met their father as well.
Met all of them, and let me tell you what, Stephen talks about you, and you want to know something else, Marty? What's crazy is I can't remember the little girl's name, but right here where I live, right below me in an insurance agency, you know her. She works for Brian Mahoney Insurance, and we go in and talk about you all the time. So it's amazing how these coaching lines go around here, there, and everywhere.
That's got to be Jennifer Canada. Well, she was Canada when I knew her, and her dad and I coached together back in the day, way back in the back when the ball just started to be round. I think back in those days.
Well, like I said, brother, it's amazing how these coaching lines go across everything and all like that. But like I said, I've been so blessed that the Lord has put me in the right places and everything else to be successful, because, I've been lucky to have all these great players and all these other stuff and everything else. But boy, my journey has been up and down, and the Lord has taken me to the highest parts, and then He's humbled me and taught me what it's all about too.
Amen to that. And Coach, through all these years, and we always talk about this here on the show. Marty's done a lot of work and a lot of research with kids, and has really put a lot of work into servant leadership for athletes and coaches. And with his books that he's written, his curricula that he's written, and tell us, what have you found over the years has been the key to success wherever you were with your players, connecting with your players? What do you see as the most important things that have been there for you to be able to make connections with these kids and have the success that you've had?
Mike, that's easy, man. Let me tell you what our whole business is about. One word: that's relationships. And let me tell you, if you saw now, you would have to see me coach, because I am as old school dinosaur as you get, brother. And you're talking about demanding. And matter of fact, probably right now, that's probably the biggest thing, is because it's so hard to play for me, because I still demand the same thing. I'd say this all the time, Mike, and I'll go back to answer your question. The hardest lesson I've had to learn, there's been a bunch of them, but here's a couple. Number one is this. I've had to learn how to adapt without compromising. Okay. Because so many people now, I feel like compromising. When you compromise your principles and everything else, man, that's when it's all going to fall apart. The hardest lesson I ever had to learn was that most of these kids don't love it like I do. I told you my story, and man, I got a passion and a love for it and everything else. And, a lot of these kids don't have the same passion and love for it. And I got to build a program that serves all their needs. But I am a very hard coach to play for. I don't take pride in that, but that's just the facts of it because we're so much on accountability, so much on demanding excellence and all this stuff. And here's what I've learned a long time ago. If you don't build relationships with kids, there's no way you're going to coach them hard. You must.
Yes, that's right.
They must know you love them. I've got an AD here that's a legend. Now, you're talking about a legend at Buford, Dexter Wood. Dexter Wood built Buford, and he's a legendary football coach out of Alabama. And my first year, I mean, he investigated me at Dade, and he knew everything and all that. But when I came into Buford, I had to do a total rehaul of this program. And there was a lot of stuff that was I had to run. As a matter of fact, 16 kids left the first year I was here. And all because of the way we do things and how we do things, 5:30 in the morning practices, breakfast club all summer long, all that stuff. And I'll never forget my first coaches meeting with Dexter after season. He called me in and he said, Gene, he said, I want to start out by saying this. I've never seen this before. I said, well, Coach, what you talking about? He said, I've never seen a coach that could just rip a kid apart right there on the sideline. And then next thing you know, 3 minutes later, they're hugging your neck. He said, it's the most incredible thing I've seen. I said, Coach, that's easy. I said, them girls know that I truly love them outside of basketball. I ain't using them at basketball, and they got a second daddy in me that basically they can count on anyway. And I said, they know that. And they know what our standards are. They know what our excellence is. And I'm going to hold them accountable to that. And I said, life ain't easy, and life ain't always rainbows and unicorns. So they better understand how to get up when they get knocked down. But going back, Mike, I'm telling you right now, the relationship aspect of it is absolutely you cannot coach kids hard. I even say this now. Nowadays, it's harder to do those relationships. I'm older. I don't relate to them as much. I don't do. And I say this before, at Dade County, I was not those girls' coach. I was those girls' second daddy. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that it was. I've got girls I gave them away at their marriage. I've got a couple of them that had to live with us. I mean, I was their second daddy. Now at Buford, it's not as I still try to establish relationships, but it's just something nowadays. It's not as you can't do it as well as you used to then. But I still think that you've got to. But I'm smart. Now here's the deal. I'm probably the dumbest coach on my staff, but I'm smart enough to hire the right coaches because on my staff, I've got I got one that retired. Well, not retired. Basically, she went into administration, been with me 20 years. But I got another young coach that was a D1 coach out of the Air Force. She has the best personality, and she is all about the relationships and keeping those girls right, straight, and everything else. I've got younger coaches on my staff that can do it a lot better than I can now. Matter of fact, my youngest son, Kobe, has been on my staff for 12 years. And if you want to really understand why we've been successful, it's because not of me, but because of my staff. I've had two coaches on there that was with me for over 20 years. I'm talking about just at Buford, 20 years. I've got another coach that's been with me probably 10 years, and then my son's been with me 12 years. So listen, man, I don't even have to coach anymore. I just turn them loose and let them do what they need to do. So, but Mike, going back, I know we went round and round and round because I'm hitting a lot of points and everything else, but relationships is where it's at. It's got to be there. Those girls know I love them. I truly care about them. I do all kinds of stuff outside. I try to see them outside of the sports setting. I try to be there when, I invite them in my office to talk just about life. They got to know that you truly care about them to play hard for you.
You know, everything you just said, absolutely 100% of it is right with the research we've had. We've researched 3,500 kids in 7 states. And you just basically gave a summary of what it is, man. That's unbelievable. And it's proof that you are servant leader coach. Hey, we need to put your face on the book. That's what needs to happen right now.
No,
Hey,
you don't need to put my face on anything. I got a face built for politics, okay?
now I teach coaches, teach coaches and ADs, and there's a story I tell about you. I've never told you this until tonight, okay? There's a story I tell about Gene Durden, and I may have it a little wrong, but there was a game you played with a team, I think, out of Chattanooga when you were at Dave, and they beat the crap out of you. Something like 55 points. And you knew you were better than they were. So you went back and played them, I think it was exactly a week later. Am I right?
It was about a week and a half.
Now tell them that story, because I'll mess it up. This is a great story, Mike.
No, it's nothing except we didn't show up that night, and I knew we were better than what we did, and we went in there and laid down and just didn't. And I came back and had some come to Jesus about it, and we went back and we played the way we were supposed to. So it's like I said, Marty, it wasn't nothing except coming back and just making sure we knew who we were and what way we were supposed to do it.
But as I recall, you took away their uniforms or something, right? Didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't want to go into all that stuff, but here's the deal. I guess back then, what we did was we basically went back home, and first of all, we had practice after that game. So, yeah, it's so funny. I tell these kids now, and they think I'm lying. I told them the other day, we was talking about practice gear and all that. I said, when I was at Dade County, our kids had to pack their practice gear on game night. And they were like, why, Coach? I said, because as many times as we didn't do what we needed to do, we went back to gym and practiced that night. And we did. And that was one of those nights. We went back and we practiced. And then basically they lost all the locker room situations. They wasn't allowed to be in the locker room, took away all their practice gear. And like I told you earlier, those mountain girls, they didn't take very lightly. If I wanted to get them mad, Marty, all I had to do was call them cookies and milk girls. Yeah, I'm telling you. So every now and then I'd go in there and say, y'all ain't nothing but a bunch of cookies and milk girls. And I'd go in there and I'd done snuck in there and put some milk and cookies in the locker room. And you talking about mad. They'd want to fight you. So like I said, I had some tactics that I would use and everything else. And we took away a few of their privileges and everything else. But it's sad you do that now. They'd probably have me strung up and run out where they do. I'm telling you now, those girls at Dade. Now you talking about? We'd go up some Tennessee schools and some Alabama schools, and I'm telling you now, some rough places to play. And we'd walk in there, and when we left out of there, they would remember our name. I can promise you that.
There's a lot of places that remember your name. All over Georgia.
Well, I don't know.
Absolutely.
You was talking about the relationships. I tell you what, I'm very lucky, like I said, in my old age, that I've had a little bit of success. So I get to speak a lot of times on podcasts and clinics and all that. But I tell you, the other thing that I think is so important, there's a couple things that I wanted to hit on. Number one, I want to hit on something with me, because you heard me say it earlier. When I was a young coach, my priorities were all messed up. It was all about me. It was all about it. You heard me talk about all I want to do is get to college and how many coach of the years I could try to win and how many games I could win and all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. But here's what I've learned, because, man, I've had some great mentors through my life. And I've got a great one here at Buford, another one named Tony Wolf. I give him credit. He's super, but I'll never forget him talking about this. And this is exactly what happened to me. Tony was talking one time to our coaches, and he said, the day and hour as a coach that you learn the difference between your goals and your purpose, that's when you'll become a lot better coach. And when I explained it, and what he explained was this: it's great to have your goals, undefeated seasons, win a state championship, win a region championship, win this. All those goals are great. But when you really understand that your purpose is impacting kids' lives, that's when you really take a better turn for being a coach. And that's exactly what happened to me. Is, I'm so thankful that we've been successful. We won them championships and all that stuff. But let me tell you what, I learned after I played in my first state championship at Dade. I'll never forget an old coach told me, he said, now, here's what, if you ever play in one, do this. He said, walk out in the middle of the floor and just look around, just take it all in. And I did. I promise you. I walked out the first time I ever walked on the floor in Macon. I looked around. I was like, Lord, thank you, man. This is the greatest thing in the world. Love it. And it wasn't really good when I lost on the last second shot, but it's all right. But get there. But after we lost that state championship, I went home the next morning, and all I did was start planning for next year. And so I found out, you know what? It don't matter whether you win them or whether you don't. You do the same thing. Okay? Mm-hmm. So the rings and all that stuff's great, and I'm happy for the kids. I'm happy for all the community and all that. But, man, when I found out that my purpose, I had so much power over players, that's when I really changed who I am and what I'm here for and what God put me on this earth for. And so I really think that that's a big, big, big deal. And I really wish more coaches could learn that earlier. I wish I'd have learned it earlier. But I'm just glad that I learned it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is, and Marty, you mentioned it a while ago when you talked after Coach said that about relationships. I was sitting here the whole time Coach was talking, and I was like, man, this is exactly, what we've been pushing. And the whole reason we started this podcast was to try to help coaches learn more about themselves and more about, how to do it right, how to set a foundation in a program and how to have the kind of real success. The real, just like you were just talking about, not just your goals, but your purpose. That's real success. When you find out your purpose and you influence those kids in the right way, that's what we've been doing this whole time. And you've just hit on so many things that we've talked with others about, and you just sort of nutshelled it going through that, which is awesome.
Well, Mike, here's the other thing. Now, don't get me started, because what I speak on all the time at clinics and everything else is the sports buzzword. You know what sports buzzword is?
What's
Can
that?
you guess it? Culture.
Culture.
Now you hear it all the time. Everywhere you go, you hear culture. Culture this, culture that. And most coaches, culture is nothing but a slogan on a T-shirt or a sign on the wall. That's what they think. Let me tell you, they put family on a shirt and they put all these signs on the wall, and they do all this. They talk about culture, but let me tell you what, brother. Culture is nothing without this word. The whole thing with culture is this. It's accountability. And that's what people don't get. It don't matter what you put on the wall. Don't matter what you put basically on a shirt. If you don't hold those kids accountable, it means nothing. And I tell young coaches, I've been lucky to mentor a lot of young coaches, that accountability is so stinking hard because it's physically, but more importantly, emotionally draining and mentally draining. To hold kids accountable to your standards and your excellence and all. And that's where your culture and how you have a successful program, that's the way you build it, is on accountability and how you hold them accountable. Because, like I said, most coaches, it all looks good till their best player is the one that messes up, and all of a sudden you may lose that game, or that kid may want to transfer or something else. And, like I said, it looks great until it's all of a sudden your feet's to the fire. And now, wait a minute, I didn't believe that. And let me tell you, I learned one of the hardest lessons in the world, to make a long story short. I had a team I'm embarrassed to tell you about. I had a team probably 12 years ago at Buford. Our roster, we were 6'5". This is girls now. 6'5", 6'4", 6'4", 6'4", 6'2". Number 2 player in America, number 2 player in the nation, number 10 player in the nation, number 15 player in the nation. Loaded as probably as good as you could get anywhere, maybe in the nation. And back then we'd won about 2 or 3 state championships. And we started thinking about, okay, we're going to put this team came here. They all transferred in, as all, and from all these high profile stuff. They wanted to come because what we were doing and how we were doing it. Then we started losing sight. We was like, okay, state championships ain't good. We need to be playing for national championships. We need to do this. So we flew out to Phoenix, Arizona, and did all the Nike tournament, all that. Mike and Marty, it was the most miserable I've ever been in my life. That team, we couldn't even get them to play hard because all these college coaches are telling me, how am I supposed to tell a kid you're playing at 60% when Pat Summitt's telling the kid you're the greatest in the world? And a 16-year-old kid, they didn't want to listen to me. And the bad thing was, I lost my way. I didn't hold those kids accountable to the standards and the expectations that we had set in our program because we were so much better. Scared of, losing them and everything else. So guess what? To make a long story short, it was a disaster season. We won a bunch of games. We didn't even with that team, we didn't win a state championship.
Wow.
And it was miserable. So God will humble you. When you start, like I said, I was chasing these goals, and I wasn't really trying to do the purpose of what it needed to be. And I lost one of my assistant coaches because of it. She was like, "This ain't what I signed up for," and I'm like, "I totally get it." And then we met as a coaching staff that next spring, and we were like, "It's never going to happen again," and it hadn't happened again. We put our standards, our expectations, but kids don't want to do it. They got to go. They can go transfer, go wherever they want to. The funny thing was, after we did that, we won 4 state championships in a row with a lot less talented kids. A lot less talented kids. So this old boy has not only preached it, but I've lived it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we got you on the show. That is what young coaches need to hear. When you and I came into business, we had all these visions, grandeur, and all the things you just described. The road from what you say from plans, goals to purpose. That is where coaching begins, when you find your purpose.
It is. It's and like I said, the Lord will humble you, and He did me. Cause like I said, I'm sitting there with probably the most talented team in America, and we can't win a state championship in Georgia just because I didn't. And you know what? Here's the deal too. Now, especially one of those players, I may be the only coach in America that kicked off the number 2 player in America. Okay, so long story. But now when I tell this story, I tell them it was not those kids' fault. It was my fault. I was the one that was the captain of the ship. I was the one that let this stuff happen. It wasn't those kids' fault. It was my fault. Because if I'd have held my standards, either they'd have got right or they'd have had to quit or get gone. So, and now what's so funny is it's not funny, but the girl that I kicked off that was a great, great, great player, she comes back every summer, comes up, hugs my neck, loves me to death, because she was just a kid. I should have held her accountable. Mm-hmm. And, but like I said, we all learn a lot of lessons as we go through. This show ain't half long enough for me to learn all the lessons I can tell you that I've learned as a coach.
Well, yeah. Well, we do have this thing called return guests, and I think you just qualified for that.
No doubt about it.
I love sharing, brother, because let me tell you what, sharing the best coaches are the best thieves. Okay, that's probably my strongest asset of me as a coach is I have basically a growth mindset. I am always trying to find a way to do something better, and I'm not setting my ways. I believe in my ways because I've won, but I'm always trying to find a way to do it better. I'm always listening to other people. I'm always sharing. I'm always doing. And I think a growth mindset is huge because so many coaches, their weakness is the profession of coaching has so many egos in it. And coaches, one thing that they never want to show is that they have weakness because we see weakness as just the worst thing in the world. And we don't want to get help. We don't want to see nobody tell us what to do. And that's what kills so many coaches that are egos. And when you can humble yourself and know that you don't know it all and you need to learn and you need to do, boy, it just opens up a whole different mindset for you all the way around.
It does. First statement I make when in my coaching class is, if you want to be a good coach, the first thing you got to get rid of is your ego. Bury your ego, and you become overnight a much better coach and a much better person. But you can't do it if it's all about you. You will never be successful. Even if you win, you will not be able to enjoy it.
No, you won't find joy in it. I can promise you that. And because you know what, Marty, you and Mike, I mean, you just said it. My parents get mad at me. I mean, I'm a straight shooter. I have parent meetings. I'm real big on communication and everything else. But this is something I say at my parent meetings all the time. I said, high school sports has lost its true meaning. Now everybody's turned it into scholarships. They've turned it into rankings. And they've turned it into accolades of what you can win. Okay? What high school sports should be about memories. It should be about relationships. And it should be about preparation for life. Because those first three, I was telling my girls the other day, those first three with all those awards and all that stuff, they don't mean anything. They can be gone in a heartbeat. But those little three, memories, relationships, and preparation for life, they stay with you forever.
Yep.
And so many chase the other things. It's so funny that we're talking about this because 2 days ago, I had my girls, after we practiced, I had them circle up. We got talking about stuff, and I just told them about that, about memories and making memories with each other and relationships. I told them, I said, my wife was an unbelievable athlete. I said, when I was dating her in high school, I would go to her house, and she had a whole bookshelf full of trophies, softball, basketball, track. She had won it all. She was at Tatnall Square, and she had won so many trophies and all there. And I told her, I said, I was so mad because I had 2 or 3 little trophies. I said, that's all I had. And she had this whole bookcase for them. Then I told him, I said, when we got married, I said, we packed all them trophies up. I said, it wasn't basically a year and a half later. She said, we had those trophies in the garage of Daddy. She said, we need to get rid of these. We threw them right there in the trash can.
Wow.
And I told him, I said, all those trophies and all that later on don't mean anything. But the relationships and the memories and the life lessons you learn, that's what sports should be about.
And you're absolutely right. Well,
That is right.
Will you promise us now that you'll come back at a later date when season's over? And
Marty, I will come back anytime you want because this is one of my favorite things to do is sharing and everything else. You just tell me what you want, what I can do to help. And brother, like I said, I'll be glad. You'll get tired of listening to me. That's the only bad thing.
I disagree with that. We'll have you back and we'll be in touch. But we got to wrap up, but we always end with one question. Mike?
Yep, Coach, and I tell you, you've probably hit on just about everything that we normally ask with this question. But I'm gonna give it to you anyway, and I'm gonna give you a chance to add a couple of nuggets to what you've already given us. But if a young man or a young lady were to come to your office and say, Coach, I'm going into coaching, and I need some tips on how to be a good coach. And, tell me, just nutshell a couple of things that you would tell them that they can do to be a good coach and a successful coach.
Okay, I don't know what I could tell them to be a good coach, but here's the first thing I would tell them. Because I think this is so important because I have a lot of them that come to me and just a question that you ask on the phone or anything
Mhm.
like that. I think the first thing as a coach you must do is you must do a total evaluation of your environment. Okay, because every coaching environment is different. Okay, I have people all the time that come to Buford and go, "Hey, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do it like this." And I go, "That's the wrong thought process because you're not at Buford. I'm at Buford.
Right.
You got to go to your first wherever you get in your job. You got to see what you got to do to compete in your region, what you got to do to compete in your community. You got to meet community people. You got to see what kind of money you have. You got to see what kind of administration you got, what kind of support you got. You got to do a total evaluation all the way around of your environment of how you can build your program. Okay. Because that is so important because they want to do things sometimes that you can't do. You see all this stuff at another school that they may be doing. And I'm not saying you can't try to find a way to do it, but you've got to figure your own path out because of your environment. That's the first thing I would tell them. And I think it's so important, because there's things I can do at Buford that I couldn't do at Dade. And there's things I can do at Dade that I couldn't do at Buford. There's things I can do at Brookwood that I couldn't do at either one. So that's important. The next thing is just what we talked about. Man, try to understand that you must develop relationships. You must invest in your kids. You know, I just think the relationship piece of it is so important. I think that's it, and get to understand the kids before you try to coach them, and then have a growth mindset, man. Go find a couple of mentors that you can work with that can help guide you. That's been there before, because so many people are on that path trying to figure it out by themselves. No, there's people. Look at Marty. Look at me. Look at you. Look at him. Go find people and see. They may be at your school. They may be somewhere else. But go find a couple of mentors. Spend time doing that. Try to learn the game the best that you can. I hope that helps.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. And you couldn't ask for a better answer to that this week. And folks, we hope you've enjoyed this episode with Coach Durden, and we are definitely going to have Coach Durden back down the line and talk to him some more, because if you hadn't been able to glean from this podcast tonight that he's a wealth of knowledge and has been there and done that and got the T-shirts and got the scars along with it and everything else. It's been amazing having you here for this hour, Coach. And we sure appreciate it. But we just want to remind everybody out there, first of all, we want to say happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. This time of year, especially, family is so important. And we all know that there are people out there that don't have the luxury that a lot of us do, as far as their family that's present and being with their family and things like that. But those of you who do, enjoy it. And I tell you, if you know somebody who is without family and not around family, go get them and include them in yours over these holidays, this Thanksgiving and Christmas. Make sure they're included. Make sure they're a part of it. And with that, we're going to use our slogan. If you do that, then you are truly stepping up and making a difference in somebody's life. And that's what we try to do. And that's what we're trying to teach and preach here on this. And, I'm thankful for each episode that we're able to do. I'm thankful for both of you gentlemen and the time we got to spend tonight. And mostly I'm thankful to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for dying on a cross for me and for giving grace that I don't deserve. And so we're going to end it with that tonight. Everybody have a great week. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you again next week here on Step Up, Make a Difference.
Gene, that was great, man.
That was awesome.
Listen, I'm so honored to be on here. It's one of my favorite things to do, especially Marty. Mike, is great to meet you, but Marty, is so good to see you and cross lines again and all that. Like I said, I'm just honored, and I can tell you guys, if you ever want me back, I'd love to do, because one of my best things that I get to talk about is I get to share about what happened with my son, my oldest son's death. And you won't, it's a great story, and it's about relationships and coaching and everything else. But I'm telling you now, it's really good. And I always try to share it when I can.
Well, when we have you back, let's do that. Let's do that. If you, I hate to bring it up, but I know how hard that would be. Golly, I just couldn't imagine.
But Marty is part of life, brother. You know what?
Yes.
It was. I always say this. I can disagree with it, whatever, but it's the Lord's plan, and you know what? It's His plan, and I've got to live with it that way and everything else. But it's what happened with me and him the night before he died, boy, is very powerful. It's very powerful for people as fathers, as coaches, and everything else. Because, like I said, it was what happened the night before was the greatest blessing the Lord's ever given me. I can tell you that, or the second best, but I can tell you right now. But it's been an honor, you guys, to be on here. I'm glad. I hope it was what you wanted.
Oh, absolutely. It was perfect.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Well, like I said,
No doubt about it.
Would love to come back anytime y'all want me.
All right. Well, we will definitely do that. In the meantime, I'm going to make my way up to Buford one day and just look you up, man.
I wish you would come to a game, boy. I'd love to have you.
I think I'll just do that. I believe I'll just come up to a game. That's what we'll do.
Marty, you let me know, brother, and let me tell you what, we'll treat you like a king.
Okay. Well, I love you, man. I love you for being on the show and for what you do. And Mike, I love you too. You guys are.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, thank you so much. And glad to meet you. I've heard your name and I've read things about you. I'm a native Alabamian, so I've been in Georgia now for right at 30 years, and just in this little edge of Georgia over here in Columbus, and been honored and privileged to work with a bunch of people. Got to know Marty. I was at Columbus State for 16 years working in the athletic department, and that's where I got to know Marty and Jay Sparks. Yeah, worked under Jay Sparks and worked with Jay Sparks and Herbert Green, and just was a part of that. And it's I've worn a lot of hats since we lived here. With my time at CSU ended in 2011, and since then, God's taken me on a different journey around the roadmap a little bit. And you've seen that little drawing that says "My Plan." And it's got one picture, and it looks all smooth, and then you got God's plan that's all over the place. That was me. That's been me. And so, but I tell you what, it's been tremendous. But it's so glad to meet you. And if I get a chance, I'm gonna come up to Buford. I've been wanting to come up to Buford since I lived in Georgia just to see a game of any sport, because I tell you what, Buford's good in everything. And, it's incredible.
It's been crazy here. Like I said, we'd love to have y'all up there. Love to come up for a game, anything like that. Like I said, you just let us know. We'd love to take care of y'all. But it's been an absolute honor to be on here, and I've really enjoyed it and catching up, and Mike meeting you, and Marty seeing you again, brother. So like I said, keep in touch and let me know what I can do.
We'll do it, brother.
We'll do it.
Love y'all.
Hey, y'all have a great week. Be safe. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to y'all, both of y'all. Take care.
Take care.